good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good night, wherever you may be in the world. Alex here in the city's diverse, always, it's the Scarborough borough in the city's east end. We're here at the intersection of Midland Avenue and Lawrence Avenue East. It's a beautiful morning in TO, but it's increasingly getting hot by the minute. And there's this pretty interesting looking fountain outside the Pierce College of Technology. And it just got out of 8703 on Route 54, which is the worst TTC bus route I have ever been on. And I'm going to explain that coming up. There's a few wasps serenading around me, but yeah, there's still one here. Get the hell out of here. Come on. Anyway, we're walking north up Midland Avenue on the west side. And it's been a while since I filmed a walking video on the streets. The last time I did that was back in November of 2022. And I walked from Steeles to Finch in the Milken district. But we're now heading, for this one, we're heading north. And along Midland Avenue, it is mostly commercialized here. Oh, this is where the offices of Scarborough Fair are. Because I did see a video that there's an elevator, a vintage elevator in this complex. But there's not really, I'm not even sure how you can get in there because this is also a private residence. Got some small stores here, which you'll pretty much see, and of course you got some residential units on the right. So it's half commercialized, half residential, which I think still makes it pretty cool. Maybe I'll come back to this intersection another day, and then I'll just properly scout, see if I could find that old Otis Series 1 elevator, which I've been having good luck with lately. I had class today. I got out like an hour ago. And I should mention today's date is not Tuesday, Monday. Yep. Monday, September the 11th, 2023, and it is unfortunately a grim anniversary for the entire world, as today is the 22nd anniversary of the 9/11 attacks. And the time right now is, it's 11:24, and it's 21 Celsius. And they're building some new townhouses here on the east side. So I do got lots to talk about today. But this is a very busy street. There's the 57. But also another bus service that runs along Midland Avenue is the reinstated 903 Kennedy Scarborough Center Express, aka the Line 3 replacement bus service. So the Line 3 corridor is just west of here. As you guys already know, as I gotta talk over this freaking construction, that typical noise all of us are accustomed to. But as you guys already know, the RT closed over 2 weeks ago. It's a long story, so I'm not going to really talk about it. So for the next 7 years, Scarborough residents will be taking replacement buses along Route 903. And the bus priority lanes have been implemented, but not fully yet. So they might probably get it done by at least November, when it was originally scheduled to close. I did see that they painted priority lanes on Eglinton Avenue between Kennedy and Midland. I'm not sure they're gonna paint paint the lanes red on. They might do that on eventually on Kennedy and Midland, and I think Ellesmere as well. But over the next few years, the routing is obviously going to change. But for now, it's running northbound on Kennedy, southbound on Midland, and then all together along Progress Avenue to Scarborough Center Station. So we're going to be seeing a lot of 903 buses here. And here comes one right now. Now, let me tell you why I called the 54 Lawrence East the worst bus route in the city. And I'll tell you why. Of course, one of the worst bus routes has to be in Scarborough, because Scarborough, unfortunately, has had a history of not getting what they deserve. And obviously, they do deserve better, but lately they just haven't been getting what they wanted. And the 54, first of all, it's an extremely long route. It is one of the longest routes in the TTC bus network. So of course, drivers, they might feel exhausted from having to travel at least an hour and a half from like end to end, especially on the letter A branch. But there's like no frequency on this route. Freaking TTC claims that they have a 10-minute frequency on the route, but there's not enough frequency east of Markham Road, and it's freaking atrocious. Like heading here, I got on at Morningside, or actually I filmed a Dover at a medical building around the area. So, but it took freaking 23 minutes, and the bus, of course, it was very busy on it, and we caught every single stop. So, obviously the route's gonna change when Line 5 opens, as it'll terminate at Science Center Station at Don Mills Eglinton. So obviously it will no longer, its western terminus will no longer be Eglinton Station. But still, after the bus I got on, people have to be waiting freaking 20 minutes for the next one. Again, there's barely any service east of Markham Road. And for the love of God, TTC, you should also improve service on the express counterpart, the 954. Like, make the express routes run middays along with the peak hours, because clearly people need it more. We're stopping every single freaking stop, and okay, well, TTC has lately increased service on many routes, but they need to do a lot. They need to do a lot more shit than they were doing. So I say, if I was part of the planning process, I would literally add 10-minute frequency on the entire route, right? And especially increase the frequency east of Markham Road, and improve the express routes. So like currently right now, I'm just gonna cross here because this is an industrial parking lot, so I don't give a fuck. But really, it's not that hard. Just make that 954 an all-day route on weekdays, and express service currently runs up until Markham Road, of course. And I feel like there should be more. I feel like the express service could be just all the way to Morningside Avenue, and then it can just run local, because that's especially east of Morningside. West Hill is where people need it the most. So yep. I've never said it before, but the 54 is officially one of the worst TTC bus routes I've ever been on. And there's other bad routes I've been on, like the 51, because it's also so damn long. And then the 45, because it's in Etobicoke and it's by friggin' Mount Dennis. And the 71, which is in Mount Dennis territory, operated by Queensway, but next month they're gonna shift it back to Mount Dennis, which is of course a good thing, because it doesn't make sense to have it in the first place at Queensway. Anyway, enough of that. There's my rants. There's my opinion. Feel free to disagree in the comments, but if you do, just be concise. Just be concise, for God's sake. And we're gonna stay on this side because there's a lot more interesting things to see on the east side. All right, now about 9/11, because as I just mentioned, today is the grim 22nd anniversary of the events that transpired Americans and the world itself. Now, you guys probably may know this, but I was not alive at that time. Obviously, it was a big thing, so sure, a lot of you guys may remember what you were doing on that day. But even though I wasn't around the time, it was obviously there's like no words to describe how tragic this whole event was. And it was just so changed the entire world. People changed their habits of flying, and especially in the New York City metro area. And I've been reading a lot about the events that the detailed events that took place from the hijacking of the flights to the plane crashes to rescue efforts and the aftermath, the rebuild. It's just crazy. I would be absolutely shocked if I was living in that time. It was such a big thing, and there were probably a freaking million views of the second plane hitting the tower, and it was unpredictable because there were two plane crashes that hit the towers respectively before they, of course, both collapsed. One was, it was unconfirmed that it was an accident, but after the second plane, it was definitely no accident because the whole thing was all intentional. So if you're a survivor or you have a loved one that you've lost in those attacks, you know, I definitely feel for you. Or if you're maybe a first responder that's taken in the effort. I did hear a small town called Gander, Newfoundland, pitched in and helped pretty much every United States bound flight take shelter at the airport there and help with the government. But I will tell you what my parents were doing respectively on this day. As there's another wasp serenading me. Get out of here. So I'll start with my dad. Obviously this is before I was born, and they were both living at the old house at 10 Green Acres, which is right in the Silverthorne neighborhood, Keele, Eglinton. And my dad's friend owned the body shop in King City, which is a town in the rural part of the GTA, but it's actually north of Vaughan in Toronto. You can take the Highway 400 up there. But my dad knows how to fix things, so he was, I mean, with the help of the owner of the body shop, my dad was getting to work on it. Now don't forget, this all happened, everything happened in the early morning, so like post like it was still morning rush hour, you know, people were still coming into work. So he was working on it, and then later, he was taking a break. I think he told me he went inside. There were a lot of people watching. They had the TV turned on. Everyone had their eyes glued to it, and I think my dad think he's right. Maybe he did tell me that he probably might have saw the second plane intentionally crash to the tower. And that was all he could remember. But yeah, it was in King City, Ontario, taking a break from working on the car. And by the way, I think he was working on was it an 80s or a 90s Crown Victoria? I gotta ask my dad. Now for my mom, she was a nurse, and she was just starting a new job at Sunnybrook Hospital, and she was part of an orientation, and she worked the entire 12-hour shift that a nurse would normally do. And it was funny that this was happening. I don't know if I should say funny, but it was quite coincidental that it was happening at the same time as fire chief or fireman. He was giving my mom, among a lot of other people, a lecture about fire and evacuation safety in the hospital, because my mom was new to the job. And he said, as we're speaking right now, a plane just crashed into the World Trade Center, and everybody was confused because maybe they thought it was an accident. But then when the meeting was over, every single TV in the unit my mom was working on showed everything that transpired. So at that point, they then knew that it was no accident. And my mom did tell me that this was obviously a mass casualty event. Even hospitals in Canada were preparing as if, because they thought there were survivors. But nobody knew that this was already a tragic event with 2,500 people lost in those attacks. So that information that my mom got was false, because they were getting they were on high alert. They had the beds ready, prepared, because they thought that they were going to receive patients from the United States, survivors, but no. Almost everyone lost their lives, obviously, when the planes crashed, and then the towers eventually collapsed. And of course, again, my mom, typically a nurse shift here in Ontario lasts from 7:30 in the morning to 7:30 at night. So of course my mom came home exhausted, tired, and of course my parents, they both had the TV on for so long, looking at the events, probably watching George W. Bush address the nation, and then John Chrétien, who was the Prime Minister of Canada at the time, also taking his time to address our nation and putting in support for the United States. Also another interesting story. Before the attacks, my grandpa, I think I don't know if it was. I mean, we took him out for his birthday at a cheesecake factory. You know, we were asking him about where he was, but I mean, he was starting a new job. As we're almost done, we're coming up to Ellesmere Road, and you can see the now abandoned Midland RT station in the background. But as I was mentioned before the attacks, and we didn't ask what year what that was in, but he visited the old World Trade Center. Got a tour from American Express, or I'm not too sure. But words cannot describe the events that just obviously had a forever changing, like a forever lasting effects on the United States, Canada, and the world. And obviously it changed a lot of security behaviors as we're passing by a major block of townhouses that might have been built in the early 21st century. And of course, around here is where the last RT vehicle ran and derailed, south of Ellesmere Station. But yeah, and now today, 22 years later, I mean, it's still a very sad time, but at least the whole ground zero was rebuilt. But obviously, Obviously, there's a memorial there. When I go to New York City, I'm definitely gonna be paying my respects and visiting the One World Trade Center, the brand new tower that opened up, I think, 10 years ago now. I pretty much spent almost my whole entire walking video talking about this, because today's a day of remembrance. People know they remember what they were doing, but they didn't know that this turned out to be a total mass casualty event. So my heart goes out to anyone that was personally affected by the events. And of course back then we were all, because this also took place during a string of wars between Iraq, Afghanistan, and the United States. But again, it just forever changed the world. And that's the story as told by my parents. Not me, so well, there you go. And just like that, we have come to Midland and Ellesmere Road. And yes, you can see there, I think they just finished painting the new red lanes, because eventually the routing is going to be along Ellesmere Road, so there's going to be a bus stop here, but for now, buses are going along Progress Avenue. Now, I don't know what I'm going to do next, but maybe, I think there's an elevator I want to film like just up the road from here, but I got to take the 57, so I'm going to wait for it right here, so we'll end up with a shot at the intersection, as well as a quick little view of the abandoned Midland RT station, which I've never been before, but you can clearly see them in the distance. Right there, as we're in knee-deep industrial Scarborough. Oh shit, there's another wasp here. Get the frick off. Whew. Anyway, guys, I want to thank you all for watching. Oh, by the way, as I mentioned, let me know, like, whether you're an American or a fellow Canadian, share me your 9/11 stories. What were you doing on this day? What do you even remember doing? Where were you? Just feel free to, I'm very open. Would love to hear your stories. But for now, again, as I mentioned, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. As always, stay tuned for more videos. Check out my others as well, and stay safe, and take care. Adios. Bye-bye.